Hey, 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 welcome back to the Free Space Podcast. And I am your host, Black Butterfly. Here at the Free Space Podcast, I share my experiences with mental health, LGBT topics, self-care, and self-awareness. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, how was your week hunting? How was it? So, if you are new to the Free Space Podcast, as I stated, I am your host. I am Black Butterfly. You can reach out to me on Instagram at freespace_podcast, or you can connect with me on my website at freespacepodcast.com. I do want to let everyone know that listener discretion is advised on my show, as I do cover very sensitive topics. Any information that you hear, any advice that I give, or either from my guests that I have on my show, are to not be taken as a professional standpoint, but as a guidance for anyone, whether it's for yourself or for others. So as always, make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves, because it's a crazy world out here. So make sure you're taking care of yourself and others as well. So we're just going to jump right into it. So as you guys know, this week is going to be, of course, about mental health, because we're still in Mental Health Month. And we're going to take a little dive with it and add military to that, because there are so many people in the world that, even to present day, that are risking their lives for our country. Hashtag thank you for your service. And they're putting their mental health on the line as well. So I have the honor of having the amazing Rachel Oswalt, who is a 6.5-year U.S. Navy veteran. She's a mom to a beautiful 4-month-old baby girl, and is also a mental health advocate. So she's going to just be sharing her story, her tips, with being in the military, and as well as mental health as well. She is the amazing podcast owner of Your Story Doesn't End Here. So make sure you guys click on the link below and check out her podcast as well. And her mission is to change mental health in the military for the better, because she has a passion to helping not only veterans, but the military as a whole to become better leaders, so that they can have a change from within. And I think that is so amazing to have someone on the show that can give insight to not only as a veteran, but a person in the military and a female. Like, that's just like so much in one, you guys. Like, I'm so excited. So get your cup, get your tea, get your notebook, grab some friends, whatever, even a stuffed animal, and let's jump right into this amazing conversation that me and Rachel have. So stay tuned. Alrighty, hello Rachel. Thanks for being on the Free Space.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So, as you guys already know, we're going to be talking about the military and mental health with being in the military. And Rachel is going to be the prime resource for us on this week's episode to give us all of the tea and the goodies on mental health and the military.
Well, thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that I'm able to take some time to share a little bit about my story and share some value with your audience about just kind of a snippet into the world of what mental health in the military is like. And, we were talking before the episode about how, I said that if I was to get into every part of my story, we could talk for hours. But
yes,
just to kind of give kind of, an overview. I joined the military in 2015 as an aviation electronics technician. And I knew going into the military that I had anxiety. Probably, I never had an official diagnosis of anxiety or anything like that, or depression or any mental health thing. I grew up in a very Christian household, and so mental health was, you don't have mental health disorders.
Yes, I can absolutely relate.
Yeah. And so, I guess my entire life I had kind of invalidated myself, because I didn't have anyone else around me validating me and my feelings and how I felt. my entire lifetime. And so I joined at the age of 22. I wasn't one of those people right out of high school. I had some life experience going in, and it really wasn't terrible when I first joined. I felt really good about it in boot camp, because boot camp is like this isolated environment where they make you think that the military is a giant family, and that, everyone's got each other's back, everyone's there for each other, and you feel different about how it actually is. I think the real culture shock hits when you leave boot camp and you go to the schooling, which is like a cesspool. It's called A School for the Navy. Yes. And where I was at in Pensacola, Florida, there was Marines and there was Navy. And I think that was it. Mm-hmm. But, one of the things that stood out to me is when I first got there, I found out about this list that a lot of the guys on the base had.
Oh, wow.
Of how many women they would try to sleep with that were like brand new to the base, because new people would show up every week.
The fresh bait.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't give you just kind of a general idea of how the culture was. That's how it was. And they also kind of create this environment where if you report like a sexual assault or you report any kind of harassment, you're kind of like a snitch. And so
wait, so you're telling me that by speaking up, even just something as drastic as sexual harassment, it's like a negative thing you're looked about?
Yes.
What? No, see, I'm glad I changed my mind, because I did want to join the Air Force, but I did more digging and deeping. I'm just like, mentally, I could not do that to myself.
Yeah, and it sucks because you have people from all walks of life. Me, I grew up in Iowa in the Midwest, and everyone's kind of the same in Iowa. People don't really leave Iowa. And so when I joined the Navy, I saw how diverse the United States is. And it really opened my eyes to how people are. And, you have your people who are more outspoken, but you have your people who are not outspoken. They're very withdrawn. Right. And I will say, when I first joined the military, it really took my voice away. I was a lot more withdrawn about things because I think life experience combined, but also knowing that, like, hey, if you speak up, you're that person, and people will be more against you than for you. And that's just the
crazy.
Culture. Yeah, it's the culture that's created. And they don't spend a lot of time in boot camp really like deep diving into sexual assault or sexual harassment, or I don't even think they really talk mental health at all, which I think they should.
Agreed.
But, sexual assault it's a huge thing. It's a huge topic in the military right now, and they have programs in place. But from what I hear a lot, the programs aren't as great as they could be. And it's still an issue. So something still needs to be changed. But I spent 6 months at my training command, and I went to my duty station, my permanent duty station, which I ended up staying at that permanent duty station my entire time that I was in. I was at 3 different commands the entire time I was there. I started what's called shore duty. Most people don't start on shore duty. They start on sea duty. But I guess was one of the lucky ones that didn't have to go to a ship. And
lucky you. Most people like in the Navy, like they are on the ship.
Yeah, I spent 6.5 years in, and thankfully never stepped foot on a ship the entire time I was in. So
lucky you.
For that. I guess that's the perk of being in aviation, which can still get you landed on a ship. But I thankfully never had to do that. But I started shore duty, and when I first got to my command, I found out that it was kind of a thing for people to look up the Facebooks of people that are coming into the commands and just kind of do some digging on them via Facebook. And,
so they do like some like scoping and scooping, like, oh, who's the new person, basically, kind of thing.
But they'll almost judge you based off of your Facebook, because I've seen it before at my second command, where they're looking at this girl's Facebook page and they're like, oh, she's a partier and this and that, and just kind of like prejudging, which I don't agree with, because who someone is on social media is not necessarily who they are in real life. And
exactly.
Yeah, but I think the thing for me that really bothered me about my situation in particular is that when I got to my command, I found this out later on, that the guys in my shop were taking dibs on me. And
wow.
For a while, I was the only female in my shop that wasn't my work center supervisor. And I was an E2 when I first got there. I left as an E3. It's just kind of like an automatic time and rate advancement. And so, yeah, I mean, it was really like, I said that my A school was a cesspool. Like, my shore duty command was a cesspool. And I'll say like a couple instances, like there was this guy and girl in my shop who were like very grabby with each other, sitting on each other's laps all the time. I had a guy touch me inappropriately when I was at work. I came in and I told a story about a situation that I was in of it was sexual assault. It was, and I told them that story, and no one like told me the reporting options or like what I should do. Like no one was willing to help me out. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of how that command was. But the real story.
How did you like get through that? You know, with not having any options. Like, how did you, you know, mentally cope through that?
You know, when I was before I joined the military, I had several instances where I had experienced sexual assault. And so I think for me, my coping mechanism had always just been like burying the situation, which I've learned now is not the greatest coping mechanism, because it doesn't ever go away. You still have to deal with it at some point. But I think just like everything else, I just kind of like justified in my head and buried it. And I just kind of like moved on. But it's still like when I would see that guy on base, like I was still terrified. And so, but the biggest problem with it's called SAPR. The biggest problem with the SAPR program in the Navy specifically is that a lot of times it's he said, she said. And if there's no solid evidence, which let's be real, most people aren't going to have solid evidence of a sexual assault. A lot of people don't even know they're being sexually assaulted when it happens, because some people don't know that if you're
the difference between the two.
Yeah, like if you're drunk and someone touches you or inappropriately has sex with you, that is sexual assault, and someone can be prosecuted for that. But a lot of people don't realize that, and it can be male and it can be female. It's not gender specific, but there's this huge disconnect with that program. But yeah, for me, I just kind of like moved on from it, and you know, the best that I could. And I was grateful to leave that command. I was only there for a year and a half, but I remember when I was in my schooling, it's called a C school, and it's a specific schooling for that platform. And that's when I really started to recognize how bad my anxiety was getting, because that's around the time that I was trying to do school, but my anxiety was so bad that I tried to sign up for school. I did sign up. I went through the whole process, and then a week before I dropped all my classes because my anxiety was so bad.
Oh, wow.
And man, I remember talking to one of my instructors and kind of telling him about it. And he was like, hey, you know, well, I think you should go to medical and you should talk to them about this. And I said, okay, I'll think about it. And I think the next week I went into medical, and I sat down with the corpsman and I told him like, hey, I think I have anxiety really bad. Like, these are my symptoms. This is what I'm experiencing. I kid you not, this man tells me, first words out of his mouth, you can't be in the Navy with anxiety. First words out of his mouth.
What? Who says something like that? Like, rude, first of all, like, excuse you.
Exactly. And it's not true, by the way. Like, you can be in the military with mental illness. There's tons of people who are. In fact, I truly believe
Exactly.
that most of the military has a form of mental illness, diagnosed or not. Um,
Yes.
and you can function just fine with a mental illness, and lots of people do every day. And so this man prescribed me excuse me, something called hydroxyzine.
Right.
It's like a high strength Benadryl, and it did nothing for me other than make me groggy. And it's a sedative, just like
Wow.
Benadryl, you know. And so you can't take it during the day. I'm like, this is doing nothing to help me, absolutely nothing.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and so I ended up going to behavioral health. Actually, it was like an occupational health to talk to
Mm-hmm.
this other doctor. She's a female doctor. I'm not going to say her name specifically, but she, all she did was gave me like coping mechanisms.
Right.
I felt like I could have just Googled those. Like I wanted
And did it
someone who's gonna,
yourself, basically.
exactly. I wanted someone who's gonna like deep dive into stuff with me and help me figure out like where stuff was coming from and why I was having this really bad anxiety.
Exactly.
And
It's like if I wanted to do my own search, I would have did that on my own.
right. And so I remember telling her one day that I wanted to be on medication because the
Mm-hmm.
hydroxyzine wasn't cutting it. And she looks at me and she's like, oh, well, I can't prescribe medication because she was a psychologist. And she, on top of that, told me, listen, you can either be on medication or you can do therapy. If you want to be on medication the rest of your life, by all means, but you can't do both. That is what she told me.
What timeout? Flag on the play. Flag on the play. Like, first of all, regardless of like if you're in the military or not, you're a licensed professional and you don't tell someone that is for one taking a big step to come to you and like, hey, I have XYZ going on. The first thing you should not be telling me is like, oh, well, if you want to be on medication, but like, if that's what I want to do, you're supposed to be that kind of support system for me. And
Right.
like, okay, if that's what you want to do, let's look into the options. Let's see how that will make you feel. You
Yep.
know, I can't prescribe that for you, but I can refer you to a psychiatrist and we can do
Exactly.
the talk therapy part about it. Like, what? No, the ghetto.
Yep, exactly. And so, you know, I was almost turned off from therapy at that point, but my friend
I
told
don't
me,
blame you. I would have
yeah,
been too.
my friend told me go to mental health. They're specifically set up for this. And then, you know, she's like, I have a really good therapist there. The lady at the front desk is awesome. Go fill out
Right.
their 10-page intake form and, you know, see what they can do for you. And so I did. I went over there and I got assigned to a therapist. And I think it was like 2 sessions in. I just didn't really feel like I was getting what I needed. I also felt like she was just giving me coping mechanisms and wasn't really deep diving in. And I felt that way with like a lot of people that I talked to, specifically in the military. And what I've come to realize is that the military just wants people to be okay enough to do their job. Not to say that there are not very good therapists in the military, because there are, and I've met people who have phenomenal therapists that they love. But at the same point, a lot of people have had really bad experiences with therapists who just aren't quite helping them deep dive. But again, I don't think that's their responsibility to deep dive into your childhood trauma and the things that really come up. And it's really unfortunate because I think that there's some amazing people in the military who, if they could work past some things, be even more amazing, but they don't have that
Exactly.
support that they need. And so you have this free healthcare, but your healthcare is mediocre at best. And so I ended up getting diagnosed with, I still can't remember the term. It was like a functioning, like a generalized functioning disorder or something, like something just very basic. Knowing that I had anxiety and depression, and knowing I had talked about this with my psychiatrist, because I did get assigned a psychiatrist who did give me the medication. Side note on that, there were 2 psychiatrists at Mental Health on Base, one military, one civilian. They straight up told me, we're not going to send you to the military guy because he's going to look at you as high functioning and he's not going to want to give you medication. So we're going to get you to the civilian guy, who also was horrible.
Wow. Well, okay then.
Yeah, he's had a lot of complaints on him, but he still works there to this day. And
wow.
Him and I got in like a verbal argument one time when I was trying to get seen off base. Because the wait times are insane. Like, I know civilian side wait times can be really bad for mental health.
Yes.
I've heard of bases that's taking like 6 months for people to be seen.
Wow.
For their initial appointment. And yeah, so, and you know, the base that I was at, it was like 1 to 3 months, which I'm sitting here telling them like, okay, but what about these people who aren't suicidal now, but in a month they might be? What do we do about
what about them? Exactly.
Right. Because we have your triage for your suicidal people, and you have the month wait for the people who are stable, just need support. What about those people in between? They didn't have an answer for me. But yeah,
that's unfortunate.
It really is, and it's part of the fight that I'm really working to change, among other things. But you know, they diagnosed me with like this general diagnosis, and
right.
I knew I had depression and anxiety. Later to find out that I also have a PTSD diagnosis, but I didn't find that out until I got out through the VA. And you know, I think now one of my biggest missions is to change mental health in the military. And slowly doing that, I started a petition to the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy in 2019. That petition is up to over 1,200 signatures.
Wow.
Hoping to get it to way more because nothing's happened yet. I did get a response from him when I launched that petition. And nothing happened after that. And so I think that it's just another thing that the military is trying to kind of sweep under the rug. But I think as things start to happen, as more mental health incidents come to light in the military, I think that the conversation's coming back up. And I think that it's important that we continue to push and put pressure on the Department of Defense, the United States military, to say, listen, like, we're not asking anymore. We are demanding that this system change because people are dying. I think just about every person I've talked to in the military has lost at least one person to suicide, and that's not okay.
No, it's not.
For a organization that prides itself on leadership and prides itself on giving people quality free healthcare and, you know, top
all these great things.
Yes, it is. The mental health care is horrible. And I think that our service members deserve better. And I do eventually have a vision of bringing this global, because I know the United States isn't the only people that have an issue in their military system, but I still have some learning to do on the other organizations across the globe. And definitely the US military is near and dear to my heart because of my own experiences. And so, yeah, that's just kind of like, I guess, the beginning part of my story. There's way more to it. Again, I told you we could talk for hours. I do have an episode on my podcast where I deep dive a little more into my personal story, if anyone ever wanted to check that out. But
yes, I will leave the link below.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if anyone wants to reach out to me too, just to chat, yeah, I have my Instagram. I'll give you the link for that. And then I also have a military leadership Facebook page. Because I believe that how we can kind of fix this from the outside in, without going through the government, is by creating better leaders. Because a lot of my personal issues, mental health wise, in the military stem from poor leadership. So that is what I'm doing these days, working on building better leaders, teaching people mental health habits where they can kind of help themselves in their interim while we're waiting for the government to get it together and fix the organization. But I understand that takes time. And so continuing to advocate and create awareness around the stories and hopefully see some change here within the next few years.
Yes, and I really do appreciate you, sharing your little glimpse of your story, your life with me, Rachel, with being, in the Navy. And of course, thank you for your service as well, just being out there on the front line for our country, but
Thank you.
also with the mental health as well, because I have family as well that, have been a part of different branches of the military as well, Navy, Marine, Air Force, Army, you name it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that my own family members have, disclosed to me as well is the mental health. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's bad. Like for me, it breaks my heart to know that, like I said, like the military as a whole, they paint this beautiful picture. Oh, you get all these great benefits, school, petition, GI Bill, all these great things. And it's like, it's great that you're offering me these things. But when I come to you to something near and dear about my mental health, it's like you said, it's like swept under the rug. It's just like, oh, you need to have like this mindset of like blocking everything out. But like, I'm human still at the end of the day.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I get you're putting me on the front line to defend millions of people in this world, but I'm still a human too. Like, my mental health still matters, at the end of the day. And
Right.
I will say that you will have my signature on your petition that you have, because I feel like a change needs to be done. And I absolutely agree. Like, there needs to be no more asking, because I feel like yourself and plenty of other, veterans and even active duty members have asked so much, and still 2022 is still nothing. And I feel like there's no more need for, asking at all. I feel like a change really does need to happen, because I've lost people in my family as well in the military because their mental health was not valued in the military. And that is so unfair and unfortunate. So I absolutely agree. And the movement that you're doing in the military and wanting to better, I absolutely commend it. I love it. I've never met someone or heard of anyone that has wanted to do such a big impact with mental health in the military, because it's so important for it to be highlighted and taken more serious than what it is. Because like I said, I've been told some very unfortunate stories that happened to my family members in the military, and I'm just like, the fact that nothing was done about that stuff back then is crazy. So, and it's like you have to live with that.
Right. Yeah. It's I think there's a fear aspect to it, because a lot of people in the military get their voices shut down when they try to impact something. And I think a lot of people get out and they just want to leave the past in the past. And so for me, everything I've ever done, I try to leave it better than how I found it. And so the military is one of those things, and I couldn't leave the service knowing that I'm leaving these people the way that they are, because it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your signature on the petition, and
of course,
anyone else that wants to support, I would appreciate it so much. But yeah, hopefully in the next year, we start to see some major change in the media, and that's what we're pushing for. So.
Yes, of course. And, make sure butterflies, like I will, link everything below for you guys. If you guys also want to sign a petition as well, if you wanted to connect with Rachel yourselves to get any information, share any tips, or just your own stories, you're more than welcome to, connect with her, message her. And also, are you taking like donations as well, or how are you with that?
So I am going to be launching a specific fundraiser, not for what I'm doing, but for a friend of mine. She has a organization called Lulu's Liberty. She sends subscription boxes, care packages to female military members. And I love what she does because it's so needed. And so I'm going to be launching a fundraiser for that. The plan is to launch that this week. It's the 26th of April right now. So I don't know when you're going to put the episode out, but yeah. And I'm going to be doing t-shirts. So, and then all the proceeds are going to go to her. with the cost of everything going up, it's like, she's looking at shutting down, and I really love what she's doing. And so I want to pour my fundraiser money into her organization, because it's aligned so well with mental health when you're deployed or away from your family, and you get a care package with things that you need or just want. And so I will give you the details of that once I launch. Again, the goal is this week. And it's going to be t-shirts that say, "We demand better mental health for the military," something like that. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but just kind of getting the word out there about the movement, but also supporting someone else. I'm all about collaborating and supporting. So that's what I have right now.
I love it. Yay. And you know what? I will make sure I will include like all of that information like below, because we like at the Free Space, we're all about being butterflies and spreading our wings and connecting and just being a family. And you are now part of the butterfly family. So, yes. So with being a butterfly, you're a part of a growing family where we're going to spread our wings and we're going to fly and just show who we are and being like basically our authentic selves.
I love that.
Yes. So we have reached the tail end of our segment. So this is like our final wrap up thoughts where like the floor is yours and you can just give a final recap of where all of the amazing butterflies can connect with you. I will make sure I leave the link below, you guys, I promise. But where they can connect with you, follow you, sign a petition, all of that good stuff.
Perfect. So I have my Instagram. It is UR Story Doesn't End Here. And then I also have a link tree, which I'll make sure to share with you that you can post below. My podcast is Your Story Doesn't End Here. That is on Spotify and Apple, working on getting it on other platforms, but the RSS feed is weird. So Spotify and Apple are my two consistent platforms that's on. The support and just listening and sharing and spreading the word, subscribing, that alone it makes a world of a difference. And then I also have my Facebook page, Military Leaders Past, Present, and Future. That is for active military, for retired military veterans, people who want to contribute in some way in leadership. Happy to have you in that group as well. My business, Your Story Doesn't End Here, is launching end of May. And that's going to be a community of people who want to be better leaders and create better mental health habits. And so stay tuned for that if you follow me on social media. But that is it. My email too, if you want to post it, is the same as my Instagram handle. Yes. Yeah. We'll give all the contact information. My email is the same as my Instagram handle at gmail.com. So UR Story Doesn't End Here at gmail.com. If anyone wants to be a guest on my podcast or just reach out and chat, please feel free. My DMs are always open and I'm happy to talk and connect with anyone. So thank you again for having me. I appreciate you so much. And it's been awesome.
Yes, thanks for being on the Free Space. It has been great just have you on here and having you share your story with everyone, Rachel. And y'all better go follow her and y'all better tell her that Black Butterfly sent her, because I did. So we're gonna get the ball rolling. So until next episode, you guys. Thank you so much again, Rachel, for being on my show and just, sharing your background. And you guys, if she could have shared her story, she would have gone on like for hours. But if you guys again want to hear her story, connect with her, sign her petition, because a change does need to be done with mental health and all military veterans, active duty, male or female. You guys matter just as well as civilians in this world. And like I said, hashtag thank you for your service. And let's make a difference, you guys, for, all of the military branches, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines. Like, let's just make a change. So make sure you guys click the link below and sign her petition, connect with Rachel, and make sure you guys listen to her podcast as well, again, titled Your Story Does Not End Here. And as always, you guys, I appreciate every last one of you amazing butterflies who are a part of the family. And I just can't wait to just continue connecting with you guys. So again, thank you so very much. And on next week's episode, it will just be a little bit about, what it's like being a good person, because everyone is a good person. Everyone has a good heart, but how does that good heart resonate to the world we live in today? So make sure you guys tune in next week to hear a little bit more about that topic. So hope you guys have an amazing week, amazing weekend, and I will see you guys next episode. Remember, you are loved and you matter. Bye.